Some folks seem pretty upset over this Connecticut Sun sale situation. I can't say I am one of those folks that is pissed off about it, but here is some of the reaction that you've seen. Senator Richard Blumenthal, WNBA put a full court press on blocking the Sun from staying in Connecticut. Deeply harmful to fans that live and breathe basketball. DOJ should investigate and stop such anti-competitive interference. Look, let's unpack this for a second, right? So the Connecticut Sun, we're going to be sold to one of the owners of the Celtics, right? Like that.
DeWanna Bonner didn't just see the news, she felt the betrayal. The Connecticut Sun, a team she poured her soul into, was being sold off like a used car, and the league abruptly closed the door on the one opportunity that could have saved them. It wasn't just about a change in ownership. It was a clear rejection of the momentum building around stars like Caitlin Clark. The veteran star watched as the WNBA front office effectively shut down a massive deal that would have kept the team in the region. This wasn't simply a business decision. It felt like a direct insult to the fans and the players who built this franchise from the ground up.
Pack this for a second, right? So the Connecticut Sun, we're going to be sold to one of the owners of the Celtics, right? Like that was agreed to. And that I get. Like Boston, WNBA team, Boston sports fans, region remains the same, even if it's a different location. Like I understand, I guess, being pissed that didn't go down. As far as the Connecticut Sun themselves, I don't think that team had much juice relative to the rest of the league. Let's just be real about it. It was not a destination.
Imagine a record-breaking $325 million offer sitting on the table, ready to transform the franchise. One of the owners of the Boston Celtics was prepared to step in and turn the Sun into a powerhouse in a major sports market. For DeWanna Bonner and her teammates, this represented a major leap in visibility and resources. But instead of a celebration, the league office delivered a firm rejection. They claimed the move was an attempt to bypass the process, overlooking the fact that the regional fan base was already there, eager for a modern experience that matches the talent on the court.
Not a destination. It was not one of those teams, you know, if you're another team, you get excited about playing, you're circling on the calendar. And the facilities were not up to par. They're sharing courts for kids' birthday parties and stuff like that. And in this new CBA, that's part of it, is making sure all the facilities are up to par. So just keeping it status quo, I get why that wasn't the case. Just even moving, somewhere around, Hartford was another suggestion. But with the ownership change, could have been the upgrade. So that's one argument.
The reality behind the scenes in Connecticut has been deeply concerning for a professional organization in 2024. While the rest of the league continues to improve, the Sun are still sharing practice courts with kids' birthday parties. It is difficult to promote a world-class future to the next generation of stars when you have to wait for a child to finish their party before running drills. This lack of basic professional standards explains why the veteran core is so frustrated. They see the Caitlin Clark effect bringing millions of new eyes to the game. Yet, they remain in a facility that feels more like a local YMCA.
That bid. But you can see the other side of it as well if you're, I think, fairly looking at it. The WNBA's case would be that they tried to skip the line, more or less. That's essentially what they said. Sun ownership, however, initially reached a deal last summer to sell the team for a record $325 million, which, by the way, needs to be appreciated. I think that the price here is $300 million to go to Houston, to relaunch the Comets, which I haven't even mentioned up until this point. And there's some history there, of course. But just the fact that the Connecticut Sun are selling upwards of...
Instead of pursuing the Boston opportunity, the league is shifting toward a $300 million relaunch of the Houston Comets. It is a move that appears more focused on rewarding established NBA ownership groups than reflecting the true growth of the game. The Fertitta family is being selected. While Houston has a rich history, this decision feels like a major disappointment to loyal Connecticut fans. For players like Bonner, watching the team's future directed toward a city that has been without a team for years, while their current market is neglected, is difficult to accept. It challenges logic in this new era.
which I haven't even mentioned up until this point. And there's some history there, of course. But just the fact that the Connecticut Sun are selling for upwards of $300 million is one of the surest signs of growth of the league that there's been, right? Like, I think they might have been bought for 10 million or something along those lines. That's an explosive growth. And it's one of the arguments I made going into the CBA as to how you can say, where the trajectory of the WNBA is headed beyond just simple revenue, net revenue, game in, game out.
Even political leaders are now getting involved because the situation has become so serious. Senator Richard Blumenthal did not hold back, calling for a full court effort to prevent the Sun from being taken away from Connecticut fans. He also suggested that the Department of Justice should investigate the WNBA for potential anti-competitive interference. When United States senators begin discussing legal action over a team's relocation, it shows how intense the situation has become. This is no longer just about sports. It reflects a league office that appears determined to maintain full control.
That have put bids in, that have gotten rewarded for doing so. WNBA effectively blocked the deal from progressing, holding firm that relocation decisions are made by the WNBA Board of Governors and not by individual teams, and that cities have already gone through the expansion process, which included Houston. Those cities have priority over Boston. And we know we're getting Cleveland. We know we're getting Philadelphia. Obviously, the Tempo, Toronto, and Portland are entering this year. And now you're going back to Houston. Now the cynic could say it's the Fertitta family, right? And the NBA rewarding one of its own because...
The WNBA's official position is that every organization must follow the established expansion process. They argued that Boston had not completed the required steps, while cities like Houston, Toronto, and Portland had already done the necessary work. However, for the players, this feels like a convenient reason to prevent a strong team from forming in a major market like Boston. It sends a message that the Sun's value does not matter if it does not align with the league's slow and rigid plan. It represents a choice to delay progress now for a future that may never truly benefit the team.
Over Boston. And we know we're getting Cleveland. We know we're getting Philadelphia. Obviously, the Tempo, Toronto, and Portland are entering this year. And now you're going back to Houston. Now the cynic could say it's the Fertitta family, right? And the NBA rewarding one of its own because of the Houston Rockets connection. The Sun will play one more season in Connecticut before relocating in 2020. So I sit on the side of, I understand why the Sun are being moved. I understand why this is happening.